Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There's two of you, that's good. I can include you in my address. My name is Alia Fateh. I'm one of the BPF board members, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to this event tonight. This is the first of our Inspirational Women Speaker Series, and as you know, BPF Women's Network was launched earlier this year to provide a platform to bring together British Pakistani women in various sectors of the industry for the purposes of networking, ideas exchange, and peer support. The aim of the Inspirational Women Speaker Series is to create opportunities to meet and engage with other inspirational women from Pakistan, the diaspora, or any others who are interests extend to the cultural and socio-economic development of Pakistan and its people. So we are very grateful and honored to host this first event, Inspired by Faith, with Kristiane Bakker. I'm not sure such a short introduction can do justice to Kristiane's wonderful story that we are lucky to have her share with us today. Kristiane is a TV presenter, a journalist, a voiceover artist currently based in London. She recently published her memoir, From MTV to Mecca, and is engaged in intercultural and interfaith dialogues. Today she will be speaking about the impact of faith on her life and her personal and professional journey. Thank you very much, Kristiane, for being here, and I hope you all enjoyed the event.
Thank you, Alia, for this generous introduction. It's lovely to see you and wonderful to be here. Perhaps it was a little short notice and, of course, a busy time before the end of the year, but here we are, and I'm very grateful for you who did come. Well, look, I mean, I think I really like this foundation, the British Pakistan Foundation, because you are really an important bridge between both worlds, between Britain and Pakistan. And there are so many Pakistanis here and so many English people with a love for the East, with a love for, you know, Eastern culture, and who have friends who are Pakistanis and so on. So I think it is, you know, especially the people who come to the British Pakistani Foundation events are achievers, are successful, are professionals, sophisticated, educated, you know, young, dynamic people, full of aspirations and ambitions, and I think, you know, and so it's. I just want you to know, I think it's a very important role that you are fulfilling, and why? And so you are a kind of a bridge between the two worlds. And why am I saying this? Because just recently I was. Once again a bit attacked on Twitter by some Islamophobes, and one ex-Muslim, she's Pakistani, and she wrote, Kristiane is still hanging out with the elite, still going to elite parties or something like that, and, you know, drinking champagne, some sort of a champagne Islamist or something like that. And I said to her, hey, how dare you say that? You know, I have given up years ago drinking, and also, you know, what's wrong with going to events, you know, and is the elite not for Muslims, or what is she trying to say? And, you know, and this is why I'm mentioning this. You are the type of people, you are the professionals, the successful people, you know, we do need to aim high. Of course, Muslims should be amongst the elite. They should be amongst every sphere of society and every profession, and and really reaching right to the top. I'm so proud to be living here in Britain. I'm from Germany originally, where Muslims really are not quite as much, haven't quite as much arrived as here in Britain. I mean, Britain really is the leading light of, I would say, European Muslims in terms of, Europe in any case. And also, it's so important that we engage and befriend non-Muslims and get out of our Muslim bubble. And I think you, the people here at the British Pakistan Foundation, are exactly those kind of people who know what I mean. Because I meet a lot of Muslims who wouldn't really so freely perhaps engage with the mainstream society, but that's precisely what we need to do. Because otherwise, how does anybody from the mainstream ever realize that Muslims are really nice people and just like, like people of other faiths? We are ambassadors of Islam, no matter where we are, and the more we engage, the better, because in a few years' time, for the next generation for sure, things will normalize, and it won't be such an odd thing for a Muslim to be at a dinner party. When I became Muslim in 1995, I was an award-winning TV presenter, and suddenly when it came, I was an MTV presenter, and I had my own show in Germany. I won the equivalent of a BAFTA award in Germany and everything else. And then when it came out that I'm a Muslim, or in fact, it was just before I became a Muslim that I was interested in Islam, suddenly from being, this hotshot pop icon, I became public enemy #1 within no time. And there was a very negative press campaign. Has she lost the plot? Is she supporting terrorism? Is she going to, present her book, show from behind the burqa, or what's wrong? And one article followed the next, and shortly afterwards, basically, I, lost all my programs, and that was the end of my entertainment career. And I never came back properly on German television, only very minorly on very satellite programs and so on. So, that was in 1995, way before 9/11 or 7/7, and it's just, this inherent, and in Germany, I must say, so there's much more Islamophobia in Europe than it is in England. And I wanted to show people that Islam is not something to run away from or to be scared of or to find odd and so on, because the Islam I encountered was very beautiful and full of peace and very spiritual and cultural and very intellectual. And and basically shortly after I became Muslim, all my agents at the time suggested that I don't mention that I'm a Muslim, that I keep now quiet, don't ever mention this again. Damage enough had been done. This is really bad for my image. If anybody wanted to hire, they should be hiring me again, like Mercedes or some corporate company to host a gala or something like that. They wouldn't do so if they knew I was Muslim. So I had to be kept quiet. And you know what? Actually, in retrospect, when I finally met my spiritual teacher years later, he said the same thing. He said, all the efforts, the fervor you have into putting the world to rights and making TV programs about Islam, and he said, put it first into bettering your deen, into learning your religion and internalizing it and practicing it, and then the rest will come. And he was so right, because at least, I didn't make the mistake of going out as a brand new Muslim, talking a lot about Islam and maybe saying wrong things because I didn't have the knowledge.
The question I wanted to ask you was, and there are two views. There's one view that if somebody wants to marry a Muslim or a Muslim wants to marry a non-Muslim, and obviously there's the religious point about if you're a woman, you can only marry a Muslim man. That's the religious law. But if you're a Muslim man, you can marry the people of the book without them converting. Would you say it's more sensible for that person to sort of learn Islam first, or is it better for you to, because I've heard both views, and as a lawyer, you take both views. Or is it better for you to be married first and then learn?
I always think it's good to learn, Look, I learned when I, was friends with Imran, I learned the Islam for 3 years. I think it's really important that we read and that we concern ourselves with things, because if you are going to live together, I mean, at least to be able to have a respect for the other person's faith, you know. I think it is important, even if they can't necessarily share it, but just so you know what motivates the other person, you know, what drives them, why is it that they don't drink, and why is it that, you know, they want to do things in a certain way, or, you know, you just at least have to make sure that they respect this. And you know what you said, I mean, I'm still single, and I had a couple of attempts, which I'm also writing about in the book. I'm still wondering about what you are saying. Should Muslim women only marry Muslim men? Because where does it actually say that? It doesn't say it in the Quran. Perhaps there are some hadith about it, and the scholars then concluded that. But, you know, as a convert Muslim, you know, I have found that most born Muslims actually like to marry within their own culture. So if nobody marries converts, so what is going to happen with us? You know, are we supposed to just be single new Muslims forever? No. So you see, that all doesn't quite work, perhaps. So, and the other, I mean, you know, we have to think, and we have to really rethink. And, you know, I've now come to the conclusion that we really, having tried to marry a born Muslim. I have been married to a born Muslim, and that was a very big problem. There's one chapter about it in the book, where he made me live Islam in a way that was very different to what I understood Islam to be. Ruby met him many times. You know, I wasn't allowed to even meet Ruby anymore. But I wasn't allowed to meet any men, of course. You know, whatever, of course or not. But any sort of platonic male friends, no. Even my old teacher, Gay Eaton, 89 years old, I wasn't allowed to meet anymore. You know, etc., etc. And it was very oppressive and completely un-Islamic. Just a lot of cultural stuff that I, you know, because I didn't know my rights well enough, that I just sort of tried to adapt, and failed, you know, couldn't quite reach the standard of isolation in central London with my job as a media person that he expected, having seen my website before and knowing quite very clearly that I'm not just a person staying at home all the time. Anyway, that's another matter. But so, you know, so I now came to the conclusion that, you know, it's important to look for character more than anything else, and not to be blinded by the trappings, the outer trappings. If somebody prays and fasts, like my ex-husband, it doesn't mean he's a necessarily good person. You know, they can still cheat, they can still betray you, abuse you, whatever. You know, there's no guarantee. So the number one, first and foremost, we must look for character. Is this a good person? You know, and then everything else will come secondly.